The problem with the world today is that fools and worthless mortals like you, 4-dimension Fool Killer, and the 3 constant time wasters that go on and on and on each and every week, talking shit to try and convince people they know what they're talking about. And what makes them even worse is that they're always so certain of themselves. But in the back of their minds, there's serious doubt.
This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, the greatest thing that has ever existed, or Terminator NJ is a braying jackass. Okay, go-home show before Corpus Christi. And they built that show up like a pay-per-view, so I feel comfortable in calling it that. This is something that I like a lot about the new pay-per-view format, that it allows for big Impact shows like that one next week. It's a loaded show with some big matches, a lot of big stuff planned apparently. I would hope it gets them a ratings hike. They played their cards right to get it. Ironically, if this were Sacrifice, I might not feel the same about it, but for TV, this feels like a really big show. But this week first, Aces and Eights come out to the ring with a few different topics to cover. They talk about the AJ Styles invitation, that's still up in the air. Bully Ray has an envelope for Brooke Hogan, and then they address the D'Lo Brown thing. He has some paperwork, and apparently he was fired last week. Because while Hulk Hogan said that firing the Aces and Eights would be too easy, Dixie Carter knows better. So they tied up that plot thread, I do appreciate that. But it raises some questions. If D'Lo was fired last week, why is he still here? He's no longer a TNA employee, and yet he's allowed into the ring, given a live mic, allowed to cut a promo. It just seems really strange that TNA management would allow him to do all this stuff a week after they fired him. It's like John Cena after he got fired by Wade Barrett. Shouldn't he be gone now? Him still appearing on the show kind of makes the firing seem meaningless, doesn't it? I mean, if he's there as a guest of the Aces and Eights, okay, but I don't know. A little further explanation on that one would have been nice.
This whole show is ridiculous!
Oh, but if D'Lo was off the show, then we couldn't do that D'Lo Brown-Kurt Angle feud that everyone's dying to see. Oh boy, sure can't wait for that one. No, sir. I really can't. Angle attacks D'Lo, there's another big brawl, and the Aces and Eights retreat. Not a great segment, but not a bad segment, I guess. The D'Lo thing doesn't interest me, but hell, I'll take D'Lo Brown over some of the other guys in that faction. Joey Ryan convinces Brooke Hogan to let him referee the knockout matches. Oh man, I wonder how long the writers have been waiting to do this one. It was head-scratching that Brooke would replace Taryn Terrell with a man who is known for doing all the stuff that she hired a female referee to eliminate, but they covered that. Brooke is supposed to be emotionally distraught over the Bully Ray situation. It makes sense that she wouldn't be making sound managerial decisions right now, so I can buy this, that's fine. So Joey Ryan officiates Gail Kim and Tara versus Velvet Sky and Taryn Terrell, and this was not so great. As expected, Taryn looked rusty. There were some shaky spots from her. I'm not going to crap on her for that, though. She's only wrestled a couple matches in the last few years, so that's not fair. We should give her some time to shake it off before we judge her too harshly. She did look better here than she did in OVW a few months ago. That's a good sign. But the match didn't come together very well. Most of the focus was on Joey Ryan perving out, and while that was funny, it was also distracting, and it got old fast. For a one-off match, this was fine to put some heat on the heels, but I wouldn't want to make a habit of it. I think once was plenty. Beats me where this might be going. It could kick off a new storyline where Brooke Hogan is searching for a new Knockouts referee and trying out different people. Might be a way to debut a new talent, who knows? Oh lordy, here's something I never thought I'd witness. Chavo Guerrero in a contract signing.
Say what?
Because TNA apparently think Chavo Guerrero is a big enough deal to warrant a contract signing segment. They're setting up the Corpus Christi tag title match, so their hearts were in the right place here. And it was nice to see a tag title match get this kind of attention. And had this been the Wet Dream Team versus Bad Influence, I would have bought it. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Those guys can carry a talking segment like this. Chavo and Hernandez? No. And Chavo in particular just looked really uncomfortable throughout this whole segment. It was like inside he knew. He just knew that the Wet Dream Team were completely pooning them, but he couldn't figure out what to do about it, so he did nothing. He just stood there looking like he'd rather be anywhere else.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
So Aries and Rude really had their work cut out for them here to keep this segment afloat. And God bless them, they really did their damnedest. And it almost worked. You know, they had some funny lines, like the one about the green M&Ms that made me laugh. But then the back and forth begins, and it becomes painfully clear just how superior the heels are in every aspect. And I don't mean just as performers. They also make better points. They say how they're both former world champions and the faces aren't, and they outclass Los Stereotypicos in every way. And Chavo and Hernandez are just standing there. They have nothing to say to this because they know it's the truth.
Your posterior better contact someone at once.
The best rebuttal Chavo can come up with is, "I'm a Guerrero, baby," which is his argument for pretty much everything. And "look at Hernandez, he's really strong. And you're afraid to sign the contract, aren't you? You're afraid to sign it." Which is laughable, because not only were Aries and Rude quite eager to sign the contract, but they have outshined Chavo and Hernandez at every turn in this feud so far, and won, if not every match, then almost every match against them. I can't really remember. The Wet Dream Team are in the driver's seat. Los Stereotypicos are the underdogs here, and everyone seems to know it except them.
I mean, after all this, you try so hard to convince people that you're a legitimate threat.
This would be so much better if Chavo and Hernandez would act like their backs are against the wall here, but they're not. They're trying to pretend like they're on the same level as Aries and Rude, and no one's buying it. Chavo's trying to act like a star, and it's the most awkward, unconvincing thing you could imagine. Even the stip that if they lose the match they have to break up, Chavo completely no-sells it. He shrugs it off like it's nothing. Yeah, great job selling the match there, Chavo. At least that part might have been storyline dictated, though, because Hernandez did seem reluctant to agree to that stipulation, so I guess there's a chance they might lose next week and maybe have one of them turn on the other. It's possible, but in Texas, I really doubt it. I think they'll probably win the titles back, which would be really, really pointless. They've already feuded with and been outshined by every other tag team on the roster, unless you count Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe, and I don't. So what's the point in them winning the belts back? The only fresh and compelling tag team feud you can make in the division right now is the Wet Dream Team versus Bad Influence. So have the heels win next week and do that at Slammiversary. That's what I hope happens, and I guess it's possible, but it seems pretty unlikely. TNA really want to attract the Latino demographic, and for some reason they seem to think that these are the guys to do it with. I don't know why. Nobody seems to like them very much. I think they'd be better off giving someone like Los Pendejos a shot, but we'll see. All I can say is I'm really, really hoping for a Wet Dream Team victory next week. And Los Stereotypicos, come on TNA, the bloom is off the rose with these guys. It's time to try something else.
And if you're not down with that, we have 2 words for you. You're welcome!
Speaking of the Latino demographic, time for Gut Check with Magno versus Adam Pearce. In this corner, we have a masked Mexican luchador high flyer, and in this corner, we have a man who, really impressed with his interview, was less impressive in the ring, but seems to offer a lot in the mic skills department. This is a tough one to review, because I know a lot of people were looking forward to Adam Pearce, and I was too. To be brutally honest, I didn't think this was that good. Look, we've seen better gut check matches, okay? The crowd wasn't into it. Magno was pretty botchy on several spots. He seemed to let the nerves get to him. And while Adam Pearce was more composed and looked more polished than Magno, he didn't really do anything amazing here either, aside from a nice-looking spinebuster. It's a tough pill to swallow because I know both these guys can do better than this, but based on just that performance, I don't know if I'd sign either of them. I might say yes to Adam Pearce based on the strength of his interview because it was really good, and I loved that he didn't pitch some sob story and go for the sympathy vote like so many other contestants do. That was awesome. He gets big respect points for that. Maybe this was just a bad matchup for him. I'd give him another chance just to be sure, but I'm on the fence right now. Call me crazy if you want to, but keep in mind, the last This Is My Last Chance guy they signed was Christian York, who's been underperforming ever since. Adam Pearce's body of work does have a lot of people excited, I appreciate that, but let's keep things in perspective here. Pearce wins by holding the ropes, so you would assume he wins the contract next week, but as we learned last month, winning the match is not a guarantee. He seems to be the more well-rounded performer, but Magno brings something to this too. He's Hispanic, we know TNA love that, and they don't have a luchador right now, so I would think Pearce takes this, but I felt the same way about Ivelisse. I guess it depends on what TNA's looking for. I love this AJ Styles angle. Best part of the show every week, and don't let anyone fucking tell you different. I think they have big plans for this storyline, and for AJ. Hogan's getting involved now, and he says that he sees AJ as a potential difference maker in this epic war against the Aces and Eights. Take that part with a grain of salt, but he doesn't know where AJ's head is at, because AJ is carrying around that Aces and Eights vest, and he hasn't put it on, but he hasn't dropped it either. And AJ's about to answer, or at the very least he's about to talks a little bit, but James Storm interrupts. Storm cuts a promo that reminds everyone how good he really is and how TNA really dropped the ball on him last year, and they give AJ an ultimatum. You're either with us or against us. And they want an answer next week in Corpus Christi. I'm not sure why it's come to that so soon, but that's just a nitpick. This angle continues to be great. And what makes it so good is the uncertainty of the whole thing. AJ really could go one way or the other, and either way would make perfect sense. They're building this up like whichever side gets AJ Styles on their team is just going to run this company. But which side AJ is going to choose is the gray area. And if they can make that as gray as possible for as long as possible, I think they've got something really good here. X Division time, Sanjay Dutt, Mason Andrews, and the returning Petey Williams.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Great to have Petey back. Man, I'm marked out for this. I do wish he'd gotten to cut a promo, and it seemed like they were kind of struggling to find a chemistry in the match at times, but I loved seeing the Canadian Destroyer again, and the crowd popped big for that too. This was really just about showcasing Petey. It did that nicely. He came off like a real star. He gets into the next title match. I don't know what happens to Mason Andrews now since he ate the pin here. Does he go into another qualifier? Does he get replaced with someone else? We don't know yet. To be continued there, but Petey, Kenny King, and Zema Ion could be great. I assume we'll get that one next week. Can't wait for that. Yes! 10-man tag main event that was set up in the opener. Kind of a mixed bag here. Most of it was what we've come to expect, namely the Aces and Eights getting completely outperformed because most of them are really not that good. But once the hot tag is made to Joseph Park, everything changed. Joseph Park is so awesome. He single-handedly made this match entertaining. And when the Aces and Eights are involved, that's no easy task. This is when the crowd really got into it. This is when the match picked up. And then ultimately he got pinned, but it doesn't even matter. This won't hurt him at all because his character is that good. God bless Joseph Park, man. He made this whole segment work. Hashtag vote for Park. Aces and eights get the needed victory. They're not getting booked like the biggest jobbers on earth anymore. That's a step in the right direction for them. I still think the poor lineup makes their wins and losses irrelevant because either way, most of these guys are going absolutely nowhere once this storyline is finished and we all know it. But for the time being, they are at least trying to make the faction look somewhat credible now, and that's something. Then Bully Ray gives that woman who's totally letting herself go, Brooke Hogan, a ticket to the Corpus Christi show next week. Bully Ray was fantastic in this segment. No one in wrestling does mean-spirited prick better than him. I mean, he really let Brooke have it. Then Hardy comes out and they fight, and this was some pretty damn good hype for Full Metal Mayhem next week, I have to say. I mean, they built this up really well. They teased that Brooke might get involved somehow. Terrific way to end the show. And I gotta tell you, I think TNA is on a roll right now. Maybe not ratings-wise, but the show has been really good these last few weeks. There are some hiccups, yeah, but they're hyping up stuff the way they need to. We're getting good wrestling more often than not. The storylines appear to be getting over the hump. And holy crap, is next week loaded. There's a lot of big stuff lined up for Corpus Christi. And hell, I said this on Twitter and I'll say it again. I think next week's Impact has better hype than WrestleMania. And I'll stand by that. I am more excited for the Corpus Christi Impact right now than I am for WrestleMania 29. Raw this past Monday put me to sleep. And while Impact did have some stuff you could nitpick, it was a solid, entertaining, engaging show that made me look forward to the next one. Raw just didn't do that for me. If you think I'm completely nuts for saying that, go ahead. I don't care. I'm enjoying Impact right now. I think the product is slowly but surely getting on the right track. And even though there's something else going on in my life at the moment that's making me kind of nervous, and you all know what I'm talking about, this makes me happy. That's all for now. See you next time. Peace out.
Following my words from earlier 4-Dimension Fall Killer, you better believe this. If you dare to try and continue to fuck with me, there'll be no doubt, as I will certainly lay you to fucking rest in a place that not even the crows will go.
Game on. Dick.